The twin suns of Viralia were slowly sinking below the jagged mountains, casting long shadows across the plains. The air shimmered with heat and a faint hum that seemed to come from the ground itself. In the capital city of Viralia, the alien leaders were gathered in the great observation hall staring at the sky. The walls of the hall were made of polished crystal that reflected the light, making the space seem larger than it was. Thalor, a tall alien with silver skin and dark, thoughtful eyes, stood at the front. He had been the commander of the Virelian fleet for over a century, and he had seen many unusual things. Beside him stood Mira, a scientist with a sharp mind and an equally sharp tongue. She leaned over the observation panel, her eyes scanning the star charts. "There," she said, pointing to a tiny speck moving against the black canvas of space. "It is not part of any known trade routes. It is a single vessel heading straight for Virelia." Thalor narrowed his eyes. "One ship, just one? Surely they must have more hidden behind it. Humans are not known for sending just a single vessel." Mira shook her head. "It appears to be alone. Their trajectory is precise. Whoever is in that ship knows exactly where they are going." The hall grew quiet as the leaders watched the tiny human vessel slowly approach. It was unlike any alien ship they had ever seen. It had smooth curves and a bright metal surface that reflected both suns. It did not carry visible weapons, and it moved with careful purpose rather than speed or aggression. Thalor turned to the council. "Prepare the scouts. I want every detail about this vessel. We cannot afford to be caught unprepared." Lara, a young scout with bright green skin and quick reflexes, stepped forward. "I volunteer, Commander. I will observe them without interfering. Perhaps they are explorers, not invaders." Thalor gave a small nod. "Do not underestimate them. One ship may seem small, but it can carry great surprises." As the hours passed, the human ship grew closer. Its surface gleamed under the twin suns, and strange lights flickered along its hull. Finally, the ship landed in a clearing near the mountains. A plume of dust rose into the air as its landing gear touched the ground. From inside the ship, a ramp slowly extended. Out stepped a figure in a smooth, silver suit that protected him from the harsh environment. He moved with careful confidence, observing the landscape with calm eyes. This was Jonas, the human commander. His crew stayed inside the ship, ready but silent. Jonas took his first steps on Virelia with careful attention, aware of the eyes that watched him from the shadows. Nearby, Lara crouched behind a rock, her antennae twitching. She could feel the human's presence in a way she could not explain. There was a strange calm about them. They were not moving with haste, nor were they aggressive. Every action was deliberate, thoughtful, and careful. Jonas looked around. The mountains were tall and jagged, with rivers of glowing liquid cutting through the valleys. Strange plants with luminous leaves swayed gently in the wind. He took a deep breath, though the suit filtered the air. This planet was different, dangerous, but beautiful. He placed a small device on the ground. It began to hum softly, scanning the environment. Data streamed into the ship, and he nodded to himself. "The planet is stable. Atmosphere is breathable with filters. No immediate threats detected," he said into his communicator. Lara tilted her head, fascinated. Human spoke quietly but with authority. She noticed that Jonas seemed calm even though he was far from home, surrounded by unknown dangers. She felt a spark of curiosity that she could not ignore. Back in the observation hall, Mira was monitoring the sensors. "Commander Thalor, their technology is advanced but not overwhelming. They do not carry massive weapons. Yet their approach is careful and confident. They are prepared but not aggressive." Thalor frowned. "We have faced aggressive invaders before. This is different. One ship should not carry so much presence. There must be a reason for this. Precision." As night fell over Virelia, the twin moons rose, casting silver light over the landscape. Jonas walked slowly, examining the area. Small creatures scuttled around, but he made no sudden moves. He helped a trapped animal free from a tangle of vines. It hesitated, then scuttled away. Lara watched, intrigued. The aliens had never seen behavior like this before. Humans were strong, intelligent, and cautious, yet they acted with care for other life forms. She whispered to herself, "Perhaps this is why they are alone. They do not need a fleet. One can be enough if they act with purpose." Thalor and Mira continued to study the ship from afar. They did not yet understand the humans' true intentions, but they knew one thing. This encounter would not be ordinary. The arrival of one human vessel was already changing the thoughts and hearts of those who watched. Jonas returned to his ship as the moons climbed higher. He looked up at the sky, considering the work ahead. One ship, one mission, one chance. The fate of this encounter rested not on fleets or weapons, but on the courage and choices of those who walked among the stars. The next morning, the twin suns of Veralia rose over the jagged mountains, casting long golden light across the plains. Jonas stepped out of his ship once more, this time accompanied by 2 crew members, Mila and Reen. They moved carefully, scanning the environment with their portable sensors. The air was thick with unfamiliar scents, and the distant mountains hid shadows that might conceal danger. From a ridge above, Lara watched silently. She had decided to follow the humans, curious to see what they would do next. The humans seemed cautious but not fearful. Each step they took was measured. Jonas crouched beside a glowing plant and touched it lightly, observing how it reacted. His crew mimicked him, careful to disturb nothing. They do not just explore for resources, Lara whispered to herself. They observe. They learn. Jonas spoke into his communicator, his voice calm and clear. Scan complete. Soil composition stable. Water sources are pure. Atmospheric conditions within safe range. We can proceed with initial exploration. Mila looked at Jonas. Do you really think they will let us walk freely? Jonas shook his head slightly. We must show no threat. One wrong move could cause conflict. We have to earn their trust. Meanwhile, in the observation hall, Thalor and Mira watched the sensors and live imagery. Thalor frowned. Why do they move with such patience? One ship should not act like this in foreign territory. They must have a purpose we do not understand. Mira leaned forward. Look at them helping the small creatures, not harming them. That is unusual. Most species would see these creatures as insignificant or even food. Humans seem different. They respect life. On the ground, Lara made her first careful approach. She stepped into view, her green skin glowing softly under the sunlight. Jonas noticed her immediately. He remained calm, raising his hand slowly in a gesture of peace. Lara froze for a moment. She was trained to report and retreat, but something about Jonas's posture and calm eyes made her hesitate. Jonas spoke softly, his voice modulated through the suit. We come in peace. We mean no harm to your world or your people. Lara tilted her head. She had never heard a human speak before, but their tone carried no threat. She stepped forward, still cautious. Why are you here? She asked, her voice tinged with curiosity. Jonas gestured toward the mountains. We are explorers. We seek knowledge. We wish to understand your world and help if we can. We do not want conflict. Mila stepped beside Jonas and added, We only wish to learn and assist. We respect all life here. Lara studied them carefully. She could feel that the humans were telling the truth. They were not hiding weapons. Their equipment looked advanced, but it did not seem aggressive. She sensed a confidence in them that came not from power, but from knowledge and careful preparation. I am Lara, she said finally. I will guide you, but you must follow my rules. Many areas of Viralia are dangerous, and not all beings are friendly. Jonas nodded. We will follow. Thank you for your help. The small group moved toward the first settlement. Along the way, the humans observed the glowing rivers, strange plants, and small animals that watched silently from a distance. They recorded everything carefully, making notes about the ecosystem, the terrain, and the atmosphere. As they approached the settlement, they noticed the alien buildings were made from a combination of crystal and metal, reflecting light in dazzling patterns. The inhabitants watched from high terraces, curious but cautious. Jonas made a slow bow of respect. His gesture was not forced but genuine, acknowledging the alien people without fear or arrogance. Lara whispered to herself, They understand respect. Perhaps one ship can indeed make a difference. The aliens in the settlement began to gather. Some were armed with simple tools, others carried equipment for daily life. Thalor's voice rang in Lara's memory. Observe them carefully. One ship may seem small, but one can carry great surprises. She realized that the humans' actions so far were already surprising. They did not act as conquerors nor as intruders. Their behavior was cautious, respectful, and deliberate. Jonas spoke to the gathering aliens through a translator device. We come as friends. We wish to share knowledge and learn from you. We do not wish to take, only to understand. Murmurs ran through the alien crowd. Some were wary, unsure if humans could be trusted. Others, like Mira and a few young observers, were impressed. The humans' calm confidence and careful movements showed intelligence and moral purpose. One small child alien approached the humans, curious but hesitant. Jonas knelt slightly, extending a hand of friendship. The child touched his gloved hand carefully and then ran back to its parents. The crowd reacted quietly, a mixture of surprise and admiration. Mira observed from a distance, turning to Thalor. They are not just explorers. They act with understanding and care. Perhaps they are capable of more than we imagined. Thalor's eyes remained narrow. One ship, one mission, and yet they carry a weight we cannot yet see. We must watch closely. As the humans continued their cautious exploration of the settlement, Lara stayed close, her curiosity growing. The aliens realized that this encounter might change their understanding of life beyond Virelia. Humans were not just visitors. They might bring a new perspective, one that could challenge long-held beliefs about strength, intelligence, and courage. Jonas looked up at the twin suns, feeling a sense of purpose. One ship, one mission, one chance to prove that humans could make a difference through thought, care, and courage. The twin suns of Virelia dipped toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the alien settlement. Jonas and his crew had spent the day learning about the local culture. They observed the way the Virelians lived, their daily routines, and their careful use of resources. Jonas was fascinated by the delicate balance the aliens had maintained on their planet, and he admired their intelligence. Lara followed from a distance, still unsure how much she could trust the humans. Their calm presence and careful actions intrigued her, but she could not ignore the questions that had begun to form in her mind. Why would humans send only one ship for such an important mission? What could one vessel accomplish that a fleet could not? That night, as Virelia's moons rose and bathed the land in silver light, Thalor and Mira gathered in the observation hall. Sensors had detected unusual activity inside the human ship. Thalor's eyes narrowed as he studied the readings. "Mira, look at this," he said, pointing to a small glowing device inside their ship. "It is not a weapon in the traditional sense, yet it radiates immense energy. I cannot tell its exact function, but it could alter the environment on a large scale." Mira's eyes widened. "You mean it could change the planet? But how? Humans have never demonstrated such technology before. Their ships are small, yet this device carries power that could affect entire regions." Thalor leaned back, deep in thought. "That explains why they sent only one ship. The device requires skill, precision, and careful control. It is not brute force that matters here. It is the humans themselves. Their intelligence and judgment are the key." Meanwhile, Jonas returned to the ship with Mila and Reen. He accessed the internal systems and activated the device carefully. Data streams filled the room as the device scanned the planet's energy patterns. Jonas studied the readings, making adjustments with careful hands. "This device is delicate," he said to his crew. "It must be used correctly or it could cause harm instead of benefit. That is why one ship is enough. More ships would only complicate the process." Mila nodded. "The Virelians will not understand this. They see us as small and alone, yet the real difference lies in us." Reen looked worried. "Do we trust that they will accept our help? If they fear the device, they may attack us." Jonas shook his head gently. "We will gain their trust through our actions. One ship, one crew, and the right choices can make a difference. We must be careful, patient, and kind." The next morning, Jonas led his crew to a section of the settlement near a glowing river. Lara appeared cautiously, staying behind a rock to observe. The humans began assisting the Virelians with small but important tasks. They helped repair a broken water conduit, adjusted the flow of the river to prevent flooding, and used their knowledge to stabilize the soil near vulnerable buildings. The aliens watched in awe. They had never seen beings from another world work with such care and precision. Each movement the humans made showed intelligence and thoughtfulness, not aggression. Even small mistakes were corrected calmly and efficiently. Lara approached cautiously. "Why do you help us?" she asked. "You could just observe or leave us to our own devices." Jonas smiled. "We help because it is right. Intelligence is not only about understanding. It is about making choices that benefit others. We cannot ignore suffering when we have the ability to act." Lara tilted her head. She had never heard anyone speak like this before. The humans were not just curious or brave. They acted with a moral purpose that was unfamiliar to her species. She began to wonder if the humans were capable of far more than she had imagined. Back in the observation hall, Thaler paced the floor. One ship, one device, and yet their presence alone changes everything. If humans can act with such precision and care, perhaps we have underestimated them. Perhaps this single vessel truly can make a difference. Mira nodded slowly. It is not their technology alone. It is their choices, their courage, and their understanding. That is what makes them unique. One human ship can do what a fleet might never accomplish. That night, as the humans rested, Jonas reflected on the day's events. He knew the Varelians still had doubts about his people, but he also knew that respect was earned through action, not words. One ship, guided by careful minds and moral choices, could accomplish what many could not. Lara stayed close to the ship, her curiosity growing. She realized that humans were different from any species she had encountered. They were small in number but vast in potential. Their strength came not from weapons or numbers but from intelligence, courage, and moral understanding. As the moons rose high, Jonas activated the device once more. The faint hum filled the ship, and he carefully adjusted the controls. One ship, one device, one chance. The outcome would depend entirely on their skill and judgment. The humans were alone on Viralia. Yet for the first time, the aliens began to understand that size and numbers were not always the most important factors. Sometimes one vessel with the right crew, acting with care and intelligence, could change the course of an entire world. The suns of Viralia climbed high into the sky, casting bright light over the mountains and plains. Jonas and his crew continued to explore the planet, helping the Varelians with small but important tasks. They repaired bridges, redirected water flow, and shared knowledge about stabilizing the soil in areas that had begun to crack from erosion. The Varelians were cautious, yet they could not hide their growing admiration for the humans' skills. Lara followed the humans from a distance, observing every movement. She had begun to trust Jonas and his crew, but a lingering worry remained. She had seen other species attempt to exploit newcomers, and she knew some Varelians were still wary. Her antennae twitched as she noted the humans' careful actions, their patience, and their steady focus. They are different, she whispered to herself. They act with thought, not fear. Perhaps they can help us in ways we cannot understand yet. In the settlement, Thaler watched from a high observation tower. He remained skeptical. Do not let their calm fool you, he said to Mira. One ship should not be capable of influencing an entire world. There is something hidden, something we have not seen yet. Mira shook her head. Perhaps it is not what they carry that matters. It is how they act. Observe them carefully. Even their mistakes are thoughtful. That is unusual. As the humans worked, a sudden tremor shook the ground. The plains quaked slightly and the river swelled with water from underground channels. Buildings that had seemed secure now teetered dangerously. Small creatures scuttled frantically and the Varelians cried out in alarm. Jonas immediately assessed the situation. Mila, Reen, follow me. We need to stabilize the settlement and protect the inhabitants. They rushed to the riverside, using equipment to redirect the water and prevent flooding. Jonas climbed a collapsed wall to reach a weak section of the riverbank, working quickly to reinforce it. Mila adjusted water flow valves while Reen coordinated with Varelians to evacuate residents from unstable buildings. Lara watched from a ridge. She could see the humans' careful coordination. Every action had a purpose. Every movement was deliberate. They did not panic even though the danger was real. Her confidence in them grew. Perhaps they are capable of more than we imagined, she whispered. The tremor subsided, but the damage was clear. Walls had cracked, water channels were broken, and some buildings required urgent repair. The humans and the Varelians worked side by side. Jonas used his device to analyze structural weaknesses in buildings and stabilize the ground. Mila and Reen shared knowledge about reinforcing walls and bridges. The Varelians, though initially skeptical, began to follow the humans' instructions carefully. After hours of work, the settlement was secure once more. The Varelians were exhausted, but they looked at the humans with a mixture of awe and gratitude. Jonas stood with his crew surveying the area. He spoke quietly so only those nearby could hear. One ship, one chance. That is all we have, and we must act with care, with patience, and with courage. Lara stepped forward, no longer hiding. She approached Jonas cautiously. You saved many lives today, not through force but through skill and understanding. Why do you do this? Jonas looked at her calmly. Because it is right. Intelligence is not only measured by knowledge or technology, It is measured by the choices we make and the actions we take to help others. One ship, one crew, and careful decisions can make a difference. Even if the rest of our fleet is far away, we can act now to protect those in need. The Varelians, who had been watching from a distance, began to murmur among themselves. Some were still wary, but many were impressed. They had seen the humans act with intelligence, courage, and a moral sense that was unusual. They realized that this single ship was more than a vessel. It was a symbol of careful thought and human potential. Back in the observation hall, Thaler paced slowly. They act as teachers, as problem solvers, and yet they are alone. One ship, and yet their presence changes everything. Perhaps I have underestimated them, Mira nodded. It is not their size or weapons that make the difference. It is their understanding and their choices. The humans have shown that intelligence and courage can outweigh numbers and strength. As night fell, Jonas and his crew set up camp near the river. Fires burned softly, casting light on the repaired buildings. The humans were tired, but their spirits remained strong. They had faced the tremor, helped the Varelians, and proven that one ship with careful minds and steady hearts could make a meaningful difference. Lara stood nearby, watching the humans quietly. She realized that their actions were teaching the Varelians lessons that weapons or armies never could. Respect, intelligence, courage, and moral choice, all of these were powerful tools. She wondered how many others in the galaxy underestimated the humans in the same way she once had. Jonas looked up at the twin moons. One ship, one crew, one chance. The days ahead would bring new challenges, but they had proven today that courage and careful action could protect lives and earn trust. The twin suns of Viralia were rising, painting the mountains in soft gold. Jonas and his crew were already awake, checking their equipment and preparing for the day ahead. The previous tremor had left the settlement more stable, but Jonas knew challenges were far from over. He had to ensure that both humans and Varelians could face the coming days safely. Lara approached cautiously, her eyes scanning the humans. There is a group approaching from the north, she warned. They are not part of your current friends. They seem hostile. Jonas nodded. We expected that. Stay calm. We must defend ourselves, but only if necessary. Avoid aggression unless there is no choice. Mila and Reen prepared their tools. Unlike weapons, these devices were designed for defense, stabilization, and energy control. Jonas knew that the real advantage of humans was not sheer firepower, but creativity and quick thinking. The hostile faction arrived near the settlement. Unlike the friendly Varelians, these aliens carried sharp tools and aggressive stances. They demanded the humans' device, unaware of its delicate nature. One wrong move could cause disaster. Jonas stepped forward calmly. We do not wish to fight. We only want to help your planet and its people. Please leave peacefully and no harm will come to anyone. The hostile leader laughed, showing sharp teeth. Leave, we do not leave. That device belongs to us now. You are small and alone. You cannot stop us. Jonas looked around, observing the terrain carefully. He noted the cliffs, the glowing rivers, and the weak points in the ground. Then he whispered to his crew. Use your knowledge, not strength. One smart move is worth more than many aggressive actions. Mila activated a device that could create temporary energy barriers. Rian coordinated with the Varelians to guide them into safer positions, away from unstable areas. Jonas used a small energy pulse to redirect the hostile aliens, not to harm but to confuse and control their movements. The hostile group grew frustrated. They tried to charge, but Jonas had already predicted their path. Using the terrain, the humans guided them into a narrow gorge where the rivers created natural obstacles. The attackers struggled, slipping on the wet ground. Lara watched, amazed. They are clever, she said softly. They do not overpower with strength. They think. They plan. Jonas moved carefully, positioning his team to block any dangerous advances. Mila created energy shields in precise locations, slowing the attackers' movement. Reen used small devices to redirect water flow, creating barriers that confused the group further. The hostile aliens began to realize that brute force would not succeed. Their numbers were larger, but their coordination was weak. Jonas and his crew, though few, moved as one, using intelligence and careful observation to maintain control. Finally, Jonas activated a final energy pulse. It created a field that made the ground beneath the attackers slightly unstable but safe, forcing them to retreat without injury. The group fell back, confused and frustrated, while the humans stood firm. The Varelians erupted in quiet awe. They had watched the entire encounter and realized that humans did not need large armies to protect themselves or others. One ship with intelligent crew members could change the course of events without violence. Lara approached Jonas cautiously. "You controlled them without hurting anyone," she said. "How can one small group do so much?" Jonas smiled. "Strength is not always about numbers or weapons. It is about intelligence, planning, and careful choices. One ship, one crew, and the right decisions can make a difference. We only fight when there is no other option, but we always act with thought and care." The Varelians began to gather around, murmuring with admiration. Even some who had doubted the humans before now saw the value of their presence. The humans' calm bravery and intelligence had earned respect and trust. Thaler and Mira watched from the observation hall. Thaler's eyes narrowed, but there was a hint of admiration. One ship, and yet through cleverness and calm action, they turned what could have been disaster into success. "Perhaps we underestimated humans all along," Mira nodded. "It is not only their skill with devices or their knowledge of terrain. It is their understanding of life, their patience, and their courage. They show us that sometimes intelligence and morality outweigh sheer numbers." That night, Jonas and his crew returned to camp. The settlement was peaceful, repaired, and secure. The Varelians had begun to see humans not as intruders, but as allies and teachers. Lara stayed close, her curiosity growing. She realized that humans were different from any species she had known. They were few, yet capable of far more than one would expect. They relied on skill, intelligence, and moral judgment to face danger. Jonas looked at the twin moons of Varelia, reflecting on the day. One ship, one device. One crew, one chance. The mission had succeeded not because of power, but because of intelligence, courage, and thoughtful action. The humans' presence had already changed the way Varelians thought about strength. It was not always about numbers or aggression. One vessel, guided by careful minds, could alter the course of events and protect a world. As the moons rose higher, Jonas activated the device briefly, checking its stability. Everything functioned as planned. He knew the coming days would bring more challenges, but today had proven a powerful truth. One ship, with skilled humans, could indeed make a difference. The night was quiet, filled with a sense of cautious hope. The humans had earned respect, trust, and a place in the hearts of the Varelians. The twin sons of Varelia began their slow descent, casting a warm glow over the repaired settlement. The Varelians moved through their streets with cautious curiosity. The humans had worked tirelessly to help, and their calm intelligence had left a strong impression on everyone. Jonas walked beside Mila and Reen, discussing the day's work. "We cannot stop now," he said. "There is more to learn and more to share. Respect is built over time, not in a single day." Lara approached the group. She had spent many hours observing the humans. She had learned to trust their judgment and admired the care they showed for the planet and its people. "Your actions have changed many minds today," she said quietly. "Even those who doubted you before are beginning to see your purpose." Jonas nodded. One ship can only do so much, but one crew working with knowledge and care can create understanding. That is more important than power. In the observation hall, Thalor and Mira were watching closely. Thalor's expression was thoughtful. "They act differently from any species I have encountered," he said. "Humans do not dominate or take what they want. They act with thought, patience, and morality. Perhaps it is time we reconsider our assumptions about them." Mira agreed. "It is not just their skill or technology. It is their choices. They show us that intelligence and courage can change the world more than weapons or numbers ever could." As the humans continued their work, a meeting was called in the center of the settlement. Many Varelians had gathered, curious to learn more about the newcomers. Thalor and Mira joined them, observing closely. The humans entered calmly, and Jonas stepped forward to address the crowd. "We came to your world as visitors, not conquerors," Jonas began. "Our goal is to share knowledge, learn from you, and help where we can. We understand your fears and we respect your ways. Together we can make this planet safer and stronger." The Varelians murmured among themselves. Some were still cautious, but many were impressed by the humans' calm confidence and respectful words. One elder stepped forward and spoke. "You are few, yet your actions speak louder than armies. You show wisdom beyond what we expected from your kind." Mila added, We do not need large numbers to help. Careful choices and courage can achieve what strength alone cannot. One ship, one crew, and thoughtful action can make a difference. The crowd was silent for a moment, taking in the words. Even those who had doubted humans began to see the value of their presence. Jonah's crew had proven that understanding, intelligence, and moral judgment were just as powerful as technology or numbers. Lara watched closely. She realized that humans were teaching more than physical skills. They were showing a new way of thinking, a way that valued life, respect, and careful decision-making. The Varelians were beginning to understand that strength was not always measured by size or aggression. Tyler spoke quietly to Mira. They have earned respect, even from those who feared them. One ship has done what many fleets might never achieve. Perhaps we have underestimated the importance of individuals and their choices. Mira nodded. It is not only about power. It is about wisdom, courage, and understanding. Humans show us that the right choices can protect lives, build trust, and inspire hope. As the day came to an end, Jonas and his crew continued their work, helping the Varelians with small improvements in the settlement. They repaired broken walkways, reinforced walls weakened by past storms, and shared methods to grow food more efficiently. The Varelians began to follow their guidance, learning quickly and asking questions. Lara approached Jonas one last time before the sun set. You have changed many hearts today, she said. Even those who doubted you are beginning to trust humans. Why do you help us so freely? Jonas smiled. Because it is the right thing to do. Intelligence is not just knowing. It is acting with care and thought. One ship, one crew, and the right actions can protect lives and inspire hope. We do not do this for reward, only because it is right. The twin moons rose over the mountains, casting silver light on the settlement. The humans looked around, satisfied with their progress. They had faced danger, helped a new people, and shown that courage and intelligence were powerful tools. One ship, guided by thoughtful individuals, had begun to change the perception of an entire species. In the quiet of the night, Lara reflected on what she had seen. Humans were different from any species she had known. They were not the strongest nor the largest, but their choices, patience, and care made them remarkable. She realized that their presence had created something more important than temporary safety. It had created trust, understanding, and respect. Jonas looked up at the moons, thinking about the days ahead. Challenges were still coming, but he knew the humans had already made a lasting impact. One ship, one crew, and careful actions could change the way an entire world thought about life, intelligence, and courage. The Varelians, once skeptical, now watched with hope. They had begun to understand that humans were capable of far more than appearances suggested. One ship with the right people could indeed make a difference in ways they had never imagined. And as the night settled over Varelia, the humans prepared for the days ahead, ready to face whatever challenges came next with wisdom, courage, and care. The twin sons of Varelia rose slowly, painting the mountains in golden light. Jonas and his crew stood at the edge of the settlement, watching as the Varelians moved through their streets with confidence. The humans' guidance and assistance over the past days had strengthened the community. Broken bridges were repaired, water flowed freely, and the once fragile structures now stood firm. Lara approached, her green skin glowing softly under the morning sun. She had spent much time observing Jonas and his crew, and had grown to admire their careful and thoughtful ways. The Varelians trust you now, she said. They see what one ship and a few individuals can do when they act with courage and care. Jonas nodded. It was not just us. It was the cooperation between humans and Varelians. One ship can do much, but understanding and teamwork make it possible to achieve even more. The Varelians had gathered in the central square. Many approached the humans, offering thanks and small gifts as signs of gratitude. The humans accepted humbly, knowing that their purpose was not to be celebrated but to help. The settlement had transformed from a place of worry to a community filled with hope and determination. Thaler and Mira observed from a high ridge. Thaler's expression was serious, yet there was a hint of pride. I underestimated them, he admitted. One ship, one small crew, and yet they have brought change, not with force but with thought and courage. Perhaps intelligence and moral choice are the strongest tools of all. Mira nodded. They have shown us that wisdom and patience can protect lives, build trust, and inspire others. The humans have earned respect not through numbers but through understanding and action. Jonas called his crew together. "The time has come for us to continue our journey," he said. "Our mission here is complete, but the lessons we have shared will remain. The Varelians now understand that courage, intelligence, and careful choices can create a better future." Mila looked around at the settlement. "They have changed so much in just a few days. The trust we built will last far longer than our stay," Reen added. "It is amazing to see how small actions can have a big impact. One ship truly can make a difference." As the humans prepared to leave, the Varelians gathered to see them off. Lara stood near the ship, her eyes filled with respect. "You have shown us more than we expected," she said softly. "Your presence has taught us lessons we will not forget. One ship and its crew have made a mark on Varelia that will last for generations." Jonas smiled. "Thank you, Lara. We have learned from you as well. Every world we visit teaches us something new. Courage, wisdom, and care are universal qualities. One ship can show the way, but cooperation makes the path stronger." The ramp of the human ship slowly extended, and Jonas, Mila, and Reen stepped aboard. Lara and the Varelians watched quietly, knowing that the humans' departure was not an end, but the beginning of a new chapter for their world. As the ship lifted from the ground, Jonas looked down at the settlement below. He saw Varelians working together, repairing minor damage and sharing knowledge among themselves. He felt a sense of pride, not in himself or his crew, but in what could be achieved when courage, intelligence, and care were combined. The human ship rose higher, moving through the skies of Varelia with smooth grace. Lara followed for a moment with her eyes, noting the humans' calm demeanor even as they left. "They are truly remarkable," she whispered. "One ship can indeed make the difference." In the observation hall, Thalor turned to Mira. "This encounter has changed my understanding. We measured strength only in fleets and weapons, but humans show us that intelligence, courage, and moral choices can shape history." Mira smiled. "And one vessel, carefully guided, can influence the lives of an entire species. We should remember that whenever we meet other worlds. Respect and understanding are as powerful as any technology." The humans left Varelia behind, continuing their journey through the stars. Jonas knew that many challenges awaited them, but he also knew the power of thoughtful action and cooperation. One ship, guided by intelligence, courage, and care, could influence entire worlds. As the sun set on Varelia, the moons rose, casting silver light across the land. The Varelians gathered in the central square, sharing stories of the humans and the lessons they had learned. One ship had brought more than assistance. It had brought hope, knowledge, and a vision of what could be achieved through understanding and collaboration. Jonas looked at the stars from his ship's bridge, reflecting on the mission. One ship, one crew, one chance to make a difference. He knew that the universe was vast and challenges were many, but humans had shown that with intelligence, courage, and careful action, even the smallest group could leave a lasting impact. The ship moved forward, leaving a trail of light in the skies. Below, Varelia began a new chapter, guided by lessons of respect, courage, and hope. And somewhere in the vastness of space, Jonas and his crew continued their journey, ready to show that one ship could make all the difference. The story of one human ship and its crew became a legend among the Varelians, a story told for generations about courage, intelligence, and the power of one to change the world.